cloud. Here we go. So we're beginning our January Connect today. We have some announcements. Then, of course, we're going to have our presentation. And then lastly, we have a Q&A group discussion. Congratulations to our new commissioners. We have Kelly, Jerry, and Kimberly. We're excited and thankful for all the work that they're going to be doing for ICAPGen. And then congratulations to our new AG professional, Roma Miller. Roma, do you happen to be here today?
She lives in France, so she might be asleep.
Perfect. That would make sense why she's not here. So Roma, she recently became accredited in the U.S. Great Lakes. And then congratulations to our AG professionals who have recently renewed. Connie, she renewed in US Midwest, Fritz in Germany Northwest, Suzanne in Italy, and Boyd in Denmark. And congratulations to our AG professionals who have earned their AGL credential. Both Bonnie and Jennifer, congratulations to both of you. And then if you have not yet done the ICAP Gen Connect topic survey, here is a link here. Or if you have new ideas that you would like to submit to the form, you can definitely go ahead and do that. I'm dropping the link to the form in the chat. We are always interested to hear what you would like to see from these meetings. And if you do not know, we have an AG Professionals Facebook group. Our Facebook group is private, so you must contact a current member to be able to invite you to join the group. To be able to join the group, you can email community@icapgen.org to join. And then if you have not yet joined Pumble, you can contact an admin to join the group. Pumble is like Teams or Slack if you are familiar with either one of those. It's a great place to ask for help or share ideas. So you can contact Lori or Naomi. There are their emails here, and they can get you all joined for Pumble. And we have a new AG directory. It's now updated, and Michelle is going to be giving us an announcement here.
All right, let's see. Okay, sorry guys, multitasking here. Just wanted to remind everybody that our online profiles in the member directory are really our best way to get to potential clients. I know there are a lot of folks that don't have a profile added. So I encourage everyone to beef up the profiles. The search engine has recently been updated where it is now keyword searchable. So if you are a DNA specialist, you do military, you do Denmark, you do, a particular county, you can add that to your bio and it will come up in the search results. So please edit away. If you guys ever run into any trouble with your password, first, I want to make sure that everybody's aware is I can't give you your password. You have the power to reset it directly. So you can actually cut me out of the conversation and use the password reset. If that doesn't work, then please definitely knock on the door and I'll be able to see what the problem is and get you online with getting your profile updated. So please, I'd love to see all the notifications of the profile edits. So edit away, and thanks for the moment to share with that today.
Perfect. Thank you, Michelle. And then for our February ICAPGen Connect, it's going to be establishing your digital office website 101 for AGs. Both Lori and Mary Ann will be working together to help give this wonderful presentation. Mary Ann has put a lot of time into making the slides and making this a valuable connect for all of our fellow AGs. So definitely put this one on your calendar. It's Thursday, the 19th of February at 12 p.m. Mountain Time. And now we're turning over the time to Barb. We are going to be learning about buried in research. Notebook LM helps you make sense of what you have already found. Now take it away, Barb.
Thank you. Let's see if I can get us to the right spot. Hopefully you can all see the screen.
Yep, perfect.
Great, thanks. Well, some of you probably are already familiar with Notebook LM, but just in case you're not, I wanted to spend some time with you this evening to go through all of the ways that I've found that Notebook LM can be helpful, not only in your research, but also in your organization. So let me tell you a little bit about how I wound up pursuing all the things that Notebook has to offer. I have a granddaughter who's a college student, and she knew I was studying for my ICAPGen written test. And so she said, you know, you really ought to try to put it into Notebook LM. And so she gave me a little refresher on how to go about it. Um, the interesting thing is she suffers from dyslexia, and so she used a lot of the tools within the program to create audio files, which she could use. And I did the same thing, actually put a lot of my files into a podcast that I could listen to all about land records, military records, everything I needed to know while I was walking the dog in the morning. So I think you'll find some of the tools that it has to offer to be of interest. At least I hope so. So let me begin. So you've probably faced some of these challenges as well when it comes to your genealogy research. Um, Evidence overload, trying to figure out where you've put what you have, trying to organize and make connections between various documents, and also trying to get the analysis taken care of so that you can write a coherent report for your customers. And this is the way Notebook LM goes about it. It has three basic sections to what I'm about to show you on the screen. That's the actual screenshot. But the three sections are the evidence locker, which is really known as the source panel. It allows you to put in all of the sources that you plan on using. The center section, which as you can see here is the consultant, that lets you analyze things, summarize, do questions, get answers to your questions and that sort of thing. And then finally, what they call the drafting table on this slide. It's really the output that lets you put together what you've all uncovered in a variety of formats. And we'll go through each one of those. So here's basically a screenshot from my Notebook LM showing you a couple of the things that I used. And each notebook is a separate topic. Each notebook will have its own individual sources that you load into it. So you can see there are things everywhere from family research to studying for exams to just information that you might want to know about, say, genetic genealogy, anything basically you can think of. And it doesn't necessarily have to be from your professional life. It can be from your personal life as well. So when you first open NotebookLM, which is a Google product, you will see this screen. On the far left is where you'll be adding the sources to the notebook. In the center is where you'll actually be working with them. And on the right-hand side is the studio where you pick the type of output that you would like to have a notebook produce for you. On the upper left-hand side where you see Untitled Notebook, this is where you can go back to finding all the other notebooks that you've created. On the right-hand side where it says Create Notebook, that's pretty obvious. That's where you actually create a new notebook. And then on the bottom, there's this handy little thing called Add a Note, and we'll talk a little bit more about that later. So here's the first part, the source panel. It's pretty much your personal library. It's where you're going to add everything that you want to put into NotebookLM. And this is the part that I really personally like because Notebook is only going to use the sources that you put into it. Unlike ChatGPT and some of the other AI assists that we have, which go out to the whole World Wide Web and find all sorts of things and hallucinate. In this case, Notebook only uses what you've put into it. So you add the sources and it works from within those sources. And to me, that's, the best part of the whole program. It's protecting your research from unsourced claims and things that you don't want to have in there because you didn't begin with it. So here's an example. This is some research from McKeever that I did. I loaded into the source panel the 1900, 1920, and 1950 census, and also a chromosome painter diagram. So you can load photos in as well as pictures. And then it works within what you've loaded into the program. What kinds of things can you load? Well, you can see here, you can add a PDF, you can add YouTube links, audio files that you might have from oral history interviews you might have taken. You can add an entire research report in the form of either a research log, your notes, any Google Docs, any PDFs that were in a Word form that you might not have in Google Docs. You can put them into PDF and add those. And also website URLs. I add a lot of those from the various archives and so on and so forth. But the one thing to keep in mind is it will not let you add anything that's behind a paywall. So for instance, I wanted to add my DNA match list from Ancestry. It will not let you add that because it is behind the paywall, but you can make a PDF of that document and then you can add the PDF into your source list. So there is a way around if you want to add a family tree you've made on MyHeritage, or as you saw, my chromosome painter, just create a PDF from it and then you would be able to add it into your sources that you're going to use within Notebook. Once you've got your sources into NotebookLM, this is your chance to actually have Notebook go to work for you. You can ask it all kinds of complex questions about what you've put in your sources. It can identify all kinds of patterns. It can look for discrepancies, and I'll show you a few examples of those as well. So in this case, you can see this is again part of that McKeever research, and it looked through the entire source list, and it came up with the fact that there was a discrepancy. The death certificate for Joshua McKeever said that he was born in Ireland, while the 1880 census record shows that he was born in Maryland. And of course, those citation numbers that you see allow you to click back to where NotebookLM actually found the information. So if you think about it, instead of having all of your information for Joseph McKeever in a a number of files, including everything you found for this person, his birth record, his death record, his marriage, all the census records, you name it, anything that you could have put in there as a source, it will instantaneously, simultaneously look at everything that you've put in your sources and do some analysis for you. And once it's done that analysis and you want to make note of the fact that, oh, I need to save this as a note, so I'll recall this when I'm writing about, my evidence in my research report, and I want to point out the things that were discrepancies and what I did to prove one way or the other, which was accurate. You can just add it as a note by clicking on the Save to Note, and it becomes another one of your sources. Here's my favorite part of NotebookLM. It is designed so that you can have whatever it is found for you or whatever you're working on put into a number of different formats. And I'd like to go through each one of those with you. So you can use it, as I mentioned earlier, for studying and learning, and it will actually generate for you quiz cards, flashcards, a study guide, and that I found to be extremely helpful. It will also summarize and review your information, and this is a huge hit with a lot of my clients that I've worked with. It'll produce an audio overview of what you wanted to do, either a research report or, as I mentioned earlier, I also used it to do an audio podcast of some of the things that I was working on learning, like, land records or naturalization or whatever. It allows you to visualize your ideas by creating mind maps, which you could use as timelines or migration routes. And last but not least, you can see that even this presentation, it will create slide decks for you. So in this case, I put an entire outline of what I wanted to cover. And this presentation was actually created by NotebookLM using what I put into it. So let me show you examples of each of these. First, we'll look at studying and learning, where it can create flashcards and quizzes for you. So this is what I had when I was studying. I put all the land records that I found sources for. And in fact, in this case, I think it was 35 sources, if I'm not mistaken. Here's the summary that it automatically generates, but let's say you had a specific question other than the ones that they suggest here. You can start typing your question here. Oh yes, it did have 35 sources. It will look at all of those as long as they're all checked, and it will find out the answers for you. So for instance, if I had a birth, marriage, death, census records all checked in here, and I wanted it to look for me, what's the birthplace of Joshua McKeever? That's where it goes to find it. In like a heartbeat, it comes back with, here's where I found. And it does all that analysis for you without you having to dig through all the records that you have. Over here in the red box, you see all of the output that you can have. So in this case, here it generated a new note, here it generated flashcards, here it generated, this is the symbol for a mind map. Here is the audio podcast, and here were the various research reports. All of these you can then either share or copy or discard. So in the first one, I chose to have it create a flashcard for me. And let me just do a little presentation here that goes through what the flashcards do for you. You'll see that you can proceed by pressing on the arrows either forward or backward. You can have it ask you the question, and then you press it down at the bottom where it says see the answer. and it will actually give you the answer. And if you needed a further explanation, you can see there that when you say see the answer, it will actually go on to explain it if you click in the explain box. So it created, out of the sources that I have over here on the right-hand side, it created several flashcards that were all based on information contained within those sources. Then there's another opportunity for studying and learning, and that's creating a quiz. In this case, you can see I only had it select the Ohio land records. And again, it gave me a basic summary of what's in those sources that I selected. But it also gives you some sample questions that you might want to ask. And again, you can ask the questions you want on your own. In this case, we've only got 6 sources, but it created 10 quizzes for me. And let me play that one for you. So in this case, you can see you have 4 choices that you could select from the items that are listed after the question. So you pick which one you think is the best answer. And it tells you if it's right and gives you a little bit more information. Again, this is all taken just from the sources that you loaded. So that's not going out to the web and finding anything in addition to what you already have in your source box. And if by chance you pick the wrong answer, it will tell you that it's not quite right and provide you with the right information. So, very handy tool when it comes to trying to study for anything. Beyond that, I mentioned that it will do podcasts for you, summarizing and reviewing. And I would like to just play for you on that McKeever research that I did. I used the full research report, put that in as a source, and then asked it to create a podcast that would give the basic information from the research. And here's what we have.
Welcome to the deep dive. You've brought us, well, quite a fascinating collection today. We've got historical documents, genetic results, and we're going to use them to trace the life of your maternal grandfather, George T. McKeever.
That's right. Born 1884, died 1969. And we want to really understand his journey, not just list facts.
Right.
How did he go from being born in Maryland, the child of immigrants facing some tough times, to becoming this respected figure in his Pennsylvania community?
And then push back further, right? Using DNA to maybe sort out some conflicting records about where the family actually came from before America.
Exactly. We're blending the old school census, draft cards, obituaries, property records with the new school, the genetic evidence, shared centimorgans, cousin matches.
It's that blend we often need, especially when the paper trail gets, let's say, confusing. Biology sometimes has to step in.
It really does. So let's start with the man himself, George T. McKeever, where the records are clearest.
Okay. Section 1. His defined life. We know the basics. Born January 18th, 1884 in Rising Sun, Maryland. That date seems solid.
Very solid. It pops up consistently. But what's really interesting is where we find him just 16 years later in 1900.
Where was he? Not Rising Sun.
No, quite far from it, actually. He's in Washington, Gloucester County, New Jersey. The census lists him as a student, but he's also working as a servant.
Wow. Okay. So at 16, he's already left home, crossed state lines, and is working.
So I think you get the idea with that one. I have to tell you that when I gave that to the customer that asked me to work on his family line with him, he said to me, "Did you actually go out and hire 2 people to do this podcast?" They really sound so real. And I think along with the written research report and the documents that were actually used for the research, I think that having the audio version of a research report is also quite interesting for most people, and they love to, share it with family members as well. So much for the audio. There's also visual ideas, and I mentioned that you could use it as a mind map, and let me show you a couple examples of that. So in this case, that was that same McKeever research, and you can see by asking it to provide a mind map, just to get maybe started on the research of what areas do I want to cover, how do I want to break it out, where would be my subheadings for the report, things of that nature, or even like the geography of what's included in the research. It provides a mind map to give you some ideas, and this was based just on one source. Another mind map was I'm thinking of becoming accredited in investigative genetic genealogy, and from their practice guide, I did a mind map to see all of the areas of expertise that are required in order to prepare for that accreditation exam. And this is a visual that's called an infographic. I don't know if Tor Hill's on here tonight, but she asked if I would please write up a little something about my journey towards accreditation. And so I wrote a brief write up just saying what I all did in order to become accredited with ICAPGen. And it took that outline, and as you can see, went through everything from the beginning, going through the study group, writing the 4th-generation project, preparing for the exams, having a few setbacks where I needed to deepen my expertise in order to have a special assignment, and then earning the accreditation. So it did all of this just from one source that was written up, and you can use the same idea for the research project. So here's that same McKeever research where it was generation one, George to his father, William to his father, Joshua. Joshua was actually the person in Ireland that came to the United States, whereas George was in Pennsylvania, and that went through his life and also talked a little bit about hardships and kind of just, again, an infographic about the entire research report. That's not all. I mentioned earlier, it will actually do professional reports for you. It did this slide deck, and it will do narrative summaries as well. So here's from the raw clues to the finished report, using it for that McKeever research report. It could write the entire thing. I would have to say that, as is the case with many things with AI, you want to make sure that you check it to make sure that it's accurate in terms of spelling and what you want to say. You can see over here, census record, they misspelled summary. So this whole slide that it did needed to be corrected. And in this case, with a slide presentation, you can't tell it to correct that for you. It will create a whole new slide presentation that won't look anything like the first one. And so what you can do, however, is put it into something like Adobe Photoshop or something, and or just correct that one thing using any type of photo correction software. But same thing for your reports. It's always important with anything AI generated, even though it is using your own sources that you've put in, to make sure that there are no errors. On one of the infographics I did, it was supposed to show Alberta, Canada, and it had it on the map closer to Mexico than to the north of the US. So it does have errors, but for the most part, it's pretty accurate, and if it doesn't give you a final product, at least gives you a pathway to it. So this was an example of using it by putting in a research report, but then adding to it a number of things found from a pension file. And you can see that all I did was take photos of each of the pages of the pension file And so it was entered as a JPEG for sources, but also a PDF with the actual research report. It summarized the entire report, and then it wrote, based on those sources, an entire research report. It was pretty good. I have to say I would change the order of a few things, but even if you used it to get an idea or to get you a start so that you're not just facing that blank page when starting to write your research report, even to see what kind of order it would put things in and how you might use it just for identifying ideas of how you might go about presenting the research. Here's just a sampling of the number of kind of reports it will generate. Let's say that you have a blog post and every week you might like to choose a couple of different sources and write your blog post from it. It will actually write your blog post. It can write a study guide. It can write a historical narrative. It can even look at your sources and help you to create an evidence analysis of that. Historical overview, um, a comparative analysis, an informational narrative. It just goes on and on. And these little pencils that you see here allow you, if you choose this, to select specifically what you want a notebook to focus on from those various sources while it's writing the report. I mentioned that add a note previously, and I wanted to share with you a couple of things that's helpful for. You might be in the midst of creating an analysis and you're asking the questions that are part here in the center panel of NotebookLM, and all of a sudden an idea comes to you as to, oh, I should really look there for some research, or oh, I really wanted to connect this person with that person, or anything that comes to mind as you're going through looking at what it's generating. Here you can just click on this, add a note, and that note actually becomes searchable within the database. It actually becomes like one of your sources. So it can be really helpful when you've got a number of thoughts going on when you're either working on analysis or while you're actually generating a report. This is the way that you have a chance to put some input into what's going on with NotebookLM. NotebookLM keeps adding new things every day. In fact, I had just finished up the whole slide presentation and I found out that Notebook just added another new thing, which was called, and they're rolling it out, it's called database. And so in this case, you can see I entered census records and city directories, and I asked it to give me from the directories an overview of who lived in each one of those city directory years in the household at what address. I did ask it to give household members as well as occupations, but if it wasn't in there, it will just tell you it's not in the source. And you can see up in the upper corner, you can actually choose to delete the whole thing or share it with Google Sheets. And once you put it into Google Sheets, you can erase this part if you don't want that to show up in your outline. So it actually creates great database, spreadsheet outlines for you, which for me, I find tremendously helpful because I don't like to be in the midst of a research report trying to compare, say, 3 census years for the household and having to create it in an Excel spreadsheet and then somehow pull it into the research report. So this way, it kind of does it for you, and you can just alter it in Google Sheets if you want to, or just use it as is. Again, be sure to check everything that the information is as you want it, no misspellings, etc. And it kind of is one more tool that just helps you along. I did read recently that Notebook is working on having it so that you can actually incorporate one notebook as a source into another notebook, because right now each notebook is its own separate entity. But let's say you were working on the parental side of a family, and a lot of the records that you put in as sources would pertain to the maternal side as well. And rather than copying all those sources all over again, you wanted to put them together to consolidate into one separate notebook. It's not available yet, but I did see that they're working on it so that you would be able to take your paternal notebook and either incorporate it into another notebook or consolidate two notebooks together. So, all in all, I think there's a number of ways that it could be useful in not only organizing all of the source materials that we collect as genealogists, just in terms of our overall education, but also in terms of all the work that we're working on. So with that, I'll take any questions that you might have.
Thank you, Barb. There are three comments in the chat. The first one is, can you add an Airtable database? And the follow-up was, can you download a CSV or PDF from Airtable? I'm wondering if you can share the URL to the actual database if you are using the free version.
I have actually tried to move things from Airtable to Notebook, and the way I've done it is to create the PDF file and then put it in as a source. I'm not sure about the CSV. If I haven't tried that as of yet. Um, I do believe you would be able to do so as long as it's not behind the paywall. Like I said, if it is behind the paywall, there are ways around it. I've used a screenshot of things that were created on a web page that was behind a paywall so that I could actually use it as a JPEG and put it into NotebookLM. So I'm not sure about all of it, but I do know that if you can find a way to put it to a PDF, which I know you can do in Airtable, you can then put that in as a source with NotebookLM.
Perfect. And then we have another question. How do you add vital records? Do you add the transcription of the document? And I responded you could upload a PDF or JPEG. But there's a follow-up question. If the document is handwritten, can you upload an image like that?
Yes, I would take a JPEG of it and add your JPEG because it will use images as well as uh, text. So I think that would work. If you just take a JPEG, you should be able to use a handwritten document.
Perfect. And then is there a cost to Notebook or is it free?
Oh, that's a very good question. I had it in my notes, but I forgot to mention it. The free version will allow you to have 50 sources in each notebook, and those 50 sources can have up to 500,000 pages. So it's quite a bit. But I have found that in a few cases, 50 sources isn't going to be enough. And I upgraded to the Pro version, which right now it costs $20 a month, but it allows you to, I forget the exact number, but a far greater. I want to say maybe 300 sources or something like that. So for the most part, I worked with NotebookLM through all of last year with just the free version. And then you can kind of see for yourself how far that gets you. And if need be, there is a paid version that gets you a little bit more. The other thing that paid version does is it allows you to create more infographics in one day. You can still create an infographic with the free version, but it limits you as to how many you can create per day.
Perfect. Thank you, Barb. And then we have one last question so far in the chat. Does it interact with the OneNote at all?
I do not believe so because OneNote is a Microsoft product and NotebookLM is a Google product. So again, I use OneNote, and what I do is either take a screenshot and use a JPEG from it or convert it to print it out as a PDF and then put it in that way.
Perfect. And then Lisa, do you have a question?
Yeah, so I was wondering what your thoughts are on copyright issues. Like, can you ask it to give you a source so it will cite all your sources that you used? Or can you give it citations and then say, I used Notebook LM to create this, and here are all the sources we used? I mean, like what I just feel like some of those things, like if you tell it to go look at this certain blog and then you tell it to write a blog post for you, are we infringing on copyright by doing that?
If you tell it to look at a blog, you actually have to take a screenshot of the blog or have a um, printed PDF from the blog. Um, and so I think you would need permission in the first place from the blog to do that, if
Okay.
you see what I'm saying.
Yeah.
Um, it only, I think what I love the most about NotebookLM is it only uses what you're putting into it. And so many other AI assisted tools will go out to the web and find all sorts of things. And I'm sure you've all experienced that where you don't know where it came from and you don't really believe it's true. And in this case, it's only utilizing what you've put into it. I should add there's a caveat because there's another new addition to NotebookLM where you can actually go ask it to deepen your research and go out and find more about something, but then you are allowing it to go out to the web, and it won't do that unless you specifically use that um, part of NotebookLM. It's in the far left-hand source side will where you enter your sources, and it will ask you if you want to deepen your research by going out to the web and finding more.
Okay. So just to refresh my memory, so you can't give it a link to go read a blog post or an
No,
article online. Okay.
no.
So you need to get permission
You
from
would
them
have
to
to
take a picture of it.
when you say give it a link, like one of the sources you can add is a HTTP uh, link that will
Mhm.
then go to find that source. In fact, if I can, is there a way I can get to my computer? Yeah, let me go. Here's where it says, can you still see that? Oh no.
No,
No.
you'd have to reshare your screen.
Um, Over here on the right, you can see what I'm talking about, where it says try deep research for this topic or search the web. See, you have to do that in order to have it. Go out
Oh,
there
okay.
and find that. But let's say I want to add a source. I can add a web link and I just post the URL here. I did that recently for Wyoming State Archives. In that notebook, you can see a lot of these things are from their website, like the Wyoming State Archives, all kinds of sources for Wyoming.
So if
And
you,
you can see over here in the center, it actually is telling you where we got that from.
mm. Okay, so does it share any of the sources you upload then? Or does it keep those? You know how ChatGPT will share anything that unless you have it blocked from doing that.
Um, I haven't ever really used ChatGPT, so I can't tell you.
Well, like so NotebookLM doesn't like share your sources with other people. It's only your private use, right?
Only if you go up here and say share, and then it's going
Oh,
to share
okay.
whatever you did.
Okay.
But, these are all everything I put in there because I was interested in Wyoming research. And so, yeah, I think it's, as I said earlier, it's the thing I love about it. It's only using the sources you put in here. It's not
Mhm.
going out to the web. It's not like, ChatGPT or Claude or all those that you put a question in, but it will go out to the web to try to find it. Here,
Mhm.
if I put a question in it, it's only going to go to these sources and try to find the answer.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Perfect. Thank you, Barb. We have one
Hmm.
last question in the chat. It says, can it write citations for all of your sources?
I've never asked it to do that. Let's see
Oh,
if it'll do it. We'll do it hands-on right here. We'll say, which one? And you write a. Lisa's gonna see if she likes how it does this. Never as good as.
Yeah, I'd give you a basis for some of the to start with.
It's true. Interesting, like here, no publication date, um, page title. It does, like you say, give you some of the input that you'd use to actually create it. But
I wonder if you uploaded, like if you have a master template of some citations as a
Yeah.
source
Yeah.
and tell it to use your source to craft one.
yes, good idea, Jill.
Yeah, I would think that would work.
definitely. Well, thank you, Barb, for the wonderful presentation. Does anyone have just one last question for Barb?
I want to ask how much did you have to change that slide deck from how the notebook
You saw where I
created them?
entered my own slide screenshots. So basically what I did is I did the outline. I asked NotebookLM to create the slide deck, and then I took each individual slide it had created and put it into PowerPoint. So let me actually
Okay.
go.
So you could edit it by
Mm,
putting text boxes over it and changing the words and stuff. Okay.
yes, I'm just trying to see. It's in here somewhere. I don't know if this was it. Yeah, so you see, here's the presentation it did. It did this one, I didn't like it. It did this one. So yeah, it basically, here's what I put in, and then it came out with this.
So Monique just put something in the chat. She said she Googled to see if the info that you input is public or private, and it said that by default, the notebooks are private, but you
Mhm.
can share a link if you choose. Google states that NotebookLM does not use your personal data or upload sources to train its AI models.
Yes,
So that's good to know.
it
Mhm.
is good to do.
Well, thank you, Barb, for the presentation. We're going to move on to our discussion portion of the meeting. So I'm going to go back and share my screen. We have a few, just a handful of discussion questions, so obviously might not get through them all. But if there's two or three people that want to answer, per question, we'll see how many we can get through. But what's a tool or resource you can't live without to help you with your research? Or, for your research in general. So I'll go first, spark someone's idea. I love an age at death calculator. They're probably one of my favorite things ever. And I love it, when a record lists an exact age at death, in years, months, and days, because you can use that along with the death date to calculate an approximate birth year. And I do a lot of German research, and that's typically found in a lot of the records, especially the later records. And I found that the birth dates that get calculated are actually pretty accurate. Most of the time, they're spot on. So that's a tool that I can't live without. And then Lisa?
So I can't live without my template bank for my citations. That's my go-to for that. So another thing that I love is, again, I do use ChatGPT to help me with some writing tasks, like when I'm stuck on a sentence that just doesn't sound right, I will ask ChatGPT to help me with that sentence.
Can I say a tool I love?
Yes.
Yeah, okay. So I actually really love using Goldie May. I'm pretty sure I have ADHD and I have a hard time keeping my logs together. And Goldie May has really helped me um, be able to log things as I'm going and then go back and fill things out. So,
It's a good one.
Do you have the paid version or the free version
no,
there?
I just use the free version and
Oh,
I
okay.
I would love to use the paid version. My mother-in-law talks about it all the time, but
Mm-hmm.
um, the free version has worked pretty well so far for me.
Oh, that's great.
That's great. And anybody else? You can go.
Oh, up until now, I haven't been able to live without Evernote, but now I think I'm going to be trying out Notebook LM.
Yeah, it seems like a really great tool. And
Mhm.
then since it's the new year, I saw this question. I thought it was very fitting for us since it's January. What's one skill you would like to sharpen this year?
Reading German script.
Yeah, it's a tough one. You always get better every year.
I'm actually working on my time management skills this year. Trying to be better at doing things purposefully and not being distracted while I'm doing them so that I can be more efficient.
That's a good one. Always hard to do.
Hmm. I also am going to be better at writing blog posts. Maybe Notebook LM will help me.
Yes.
Most of the
Lisa,
stuff I have some material for that's my own material. I just need help turning it into a good blog post.
Lisa, have you read the Getting Things Done workbook?
Yes, by Alan, David
David
Allen.
Allen? Yeah,
Yeah, I've read parts of that. Yeah.
yeah, that may
Yep.
help you
Yeah.
get
Yeah,
streamlined.
I've been using his set a timer method.
Hmm.
And also if you can do it in 2 minutes, just do it instead of
Right.
putting it on your list. So I've been trying to implement those two things. But I end up multitasking because I've got my email up, I've got my text up, I've got so many things up while I'm trying to get something done, and then nothing gets done. Just get sidetracked. So that's what I'm working on.
I would like to get better at watching webinars more regularly. There's a mountain of them. I'm so far behind on the legacy webinars and every other kind of webinar, but they're so valuable for keeping up on things. And anyway, I would like to sort of develop more of a regular viewing habit this year.
That's a great one.
Yeah, for sure. And then I also saw this question. What's your favorite genealogical conference memory? Since the Roots Tech is just right around the corner, I thought this one would also be perfect.
For me, it was Roots Tech 2025. I got to meet Lisa and Torhild after knowing them for several years through doing Zoom. So that was just phenomenal. And also Diana Elder and her daughter Nicole, who have the Research Like a Pro series. So, and now I'll be going back again this year and I'll be presenting.
Ooh.
Awesome. Yay.
We had one from the chat. Monique said her favorite conference memory is the plaza. She's very sad that it's not there anymore. I've been watching it come down. It's been kind of fun.
Oh.
It's convenient, that it's, right next to the library. But she said it was the only type of bed she could sleep in. It's exactly like the one she has at home. So Monique, I'm very sorry for you that the plaza is gone. I hope you can find a good replacement hotel. Bonnie?
Mine was Roots Tech 2020, and it was where Nikki Smith, I talked to Nikki Smith, met her for the first time. She had just gotten her accreditation, and she was the one who suggested becoming an AG, and that's when everything turned. So Roots Tech 2020, just a random conversation with a newly appointed AG.
That's great.
Michelle?
Oh, sorry. Forgot I was muted there. My favorite conference memory is actually favorite as well as very scary, was the first time I was presenting at an NGS, or it could have been an FGS conference, and Elizabeth Schoen Mills sat in my presentation. Yes. Talk about having butterflies.
So I have an Elizabeth Shown Mills memory. Once I was at the APG conference and we were doing a DNA hands-on activity, and lo and behold, who walks in and sits down right next to me and was in my group was Elizabeth Shown Mills. And yeah, anyway, it was fun to get to meet her in person. She was so sweet and nice, but she would not help us with the project problem we were doing. So we were all like, blah, blah. And she just kept saying, "Oh, I don't know. You guys are doing great." So anyway, that was fun.
I have a scary genealogical conference memory. This is bringing up back memories. First, I was going to say my favorite memories are actually working at the ICAPGen booth. I really like meeting all the people that come up and have lots of questions about ICAPGen and all the other AGs. It's always been a really fun thing. So I'll put in a plug for that. But one time when I was working at the booth, Rick Sayer came up. He was president of BCG at the time, and he came up, and all he did was he picked up some of our reports that we had lying there for people to look through. He picked up a report and he walked off and he sat down and he started going through it. And I was really nervous to know what he would think of one of our AG's reports. He didn't say anything to me or anything. He just read through it, came over, he put it back down and he walked off. And I thought, I hope it was good. And then I looked and it was Diana Elder's report. I thought, okay, it was probably so.
That's awesome.
Hmm.
So I always love the ICAPGen get together. We're going to plan another one this year during Roots Tech. So I'm not sure if we're going to do the same thing. Last year, the past 2 years, we've gone to Cafe Rio. We might put out a survey or something to see how many people are interested, because we might need to go somewhere with more seats than Cafe Rio. So we will watch for that. We'll communicate that in our Roots Tech Pumble channel, Roots Tech 2026 Pumble channel. Is that right, Lori?
Yes. Make sure to use 2026 and not 2025. They
Yeah.
both exist. And if you haven't seen 2026 on Pumble, make sure that when you look at the list of channels, go up and hit the plus sign, and you have to basically sign yourself into it so that it appears in your list of channels. If you get stuck, send me a message.
And there was another comment in the chat. Is there a sign-up sheet for volunteers yet for Roots Tech? We've just been kind of starting to talk about Roots Tech things, so there's definitely going to be one.
Yes, that'll be coming out here within the next couple weeks. I'm working with our new conference chair, Kelly Summers. She's our new commissioner that's going to be over conferences. So her and I will get that going.
Well, thank you everybody for joining us today for this January Connect. I hope to see all of you guys back in February. So thank you for joining us today.
Thanks, everyone.
Bye,
Thank you.
everyone. Good to see y'all.
Thanks.
Thank you.
Thanks again, Barb. That was fantastic.
I second
Bye.
that.
Yes, thank you, Barb.